what I did was this week I played Waku Waku 7. You might remember that as the bright and colorful game that was the fighting game that we played a long time ago. Every character was a reference to anime. So there was a My Neighbor Totoro character. There was a Joseph Joestar. There was an elf with swords slashing.
I'll tell you what, I'll never remember Waku Waku 7 as any of that shit because you have created a new Waku Waku 7 memory for me, which is watching the VGAs and someone in chat going, "Holy shit, Woolie's streaming fucking Waku Waku 7 right?"
Yep. Call me whatever you want, but do not say that I'm not a real one.
You're in there.
I'm
You're
a
in there
real one.
forever.
I keep it as real as possible. I mean, look, man. Realistically, I know this. I know what it is, and I said it, and I'm talking to Reggie about it, and he's like, "So," and I'm like, "Yeah, this is what we do over here, right?" Anyone else, by any metric, would look at this and be like, "Hey, man." People want to watch reactions to trailers. They want to see you watch this stuff. And even if you're not interested in what's happening on the screen, just sitting there and dumping on it for the hour or two is good enough. It's enjoyment. It's a good.
It was easy to dump. Let me tell you.
Exactly, right. And I'm just like, yeah, but like I kind of also die inside just sitting there like going like, all right, new announcements for shit I don't care about and awards I'm gonna probably complain about. One Punch Man in the fighting game fucking finals. Like I'm not. What do you want me to? What do you want me to? You know. So I'm just like, look, I don't really enjoy a ton of these things, if almost ever. You know, but yes, there's a free massive level of just like people are gonna tune in and watch and spike and people are also gonna browse for any high watch channels and just watch along with those people. So it is what it is. But more importantly, I had Waku Waku 7 lore to get to, and I had Galaxy Fight on deck, and I wanted to talk about the connection between these two games because one, they're fantastic fighting games that were easily forgotten for the Neo Geo, and two, like it turns out, thanks to Gel for preparing some lore dumps for us in that little get into fighting games we did, but it turns out there's a connection between these two games, and it extends far outside those games into things like the PlayStation 1 shooter Trag, if you remember that. TRAG was a weird,
oh my god,
anime thing that existed.
I never thought I would hear anyone say the word trag to me.
Trag ties in. And Gel basically prepared like a 10-minute video explaining the lore of this whole thing. And if you want to fucking go on a dive, I encourage you to watch the Get Into Fighting Games Galaxy Fight and Getting to Fighting Games Waku Waku 7 episodes that are about to come out. It's just a whole. It's a whole about a game that you didn't know anything about, and you're finding out how deep it goes when the surface was already like 2/3 of the way down the iceberg. You know. But beyond that lore shit, they're really nicely animated, beautiful games. And Galaxy Fight, you might recall for having some really interesting like space anime, space opera designs, lots of
Nope, nothing.
nothing,
Brain
huh?
removed
All right,
it's gone.
Okay, well, it had some really, and it was really interesting because it had like some cool space designs. I want to say like less so Cowboy Bebop and more so Outlaw Star kind of vibes to it. But more importantly and notably is the fact that it's one of the only games I can think of where there's no corners to the screen. You infinitely scroll left or right. You run at like from super far away, and when you hit people, they go flying multiple screens away. So there's a sense of horizontal play that gets used a lot, and like it ends up feeling like really interesting to like juggle someone and send them flying a whole screen away, and then you're sprinting after them, and as they're rolling on the ground, like your next setup is coming. It feels very cool, you know?
I'm watching a long play right now, and I saw a training bag with a headband on it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah. So that's Bonus Kun. He's a bonus character.
I saw this once.
He's Ryu. And rather, the Ryu of that universe is such a badass that went on to teach all the badasses how to fight, and his training bag was so filled with the fighting spirit from being near him for so long, from being on his shoulder and traveling, that it eventually developed its own fighting spirit, and that's Bonus Kun, who appears in both games.
Oh, okay.
All right, so that's happening this week. It was a really fun time, believe me. It's a good ass game. And yeah, I will always be out there doing some stupid shit during the fucking Game Awards or doing some other watch along type thing. And sometimes I'll do the watch, let's be real. But these days, it seems a lot less sensical when you're going to have to do what with the video afterwards. Fucking wipe it.
Oh, so we did it on Paige's channel, and like after the end of it, I'm like, "Do you want to keep this?" And she said, "Fuck no." We deleted it right away.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
sense. Where's it gonna go? YouTube, where it'll get copyright stricken or fucking whatever?
Exactly. You can't put it in either direction. So yeah, fucking whatever. You know, I'll just play this Sunsoft fighter. It's a good time. So that's what we did. And then I also really quickly took Reggie to
Virgil on the PC.
Oh, well, I didn't, but I was gonna say we booted up Buriki One for what that's worth. Buriki One is the old Neo Geo, Hyper Neo Geo 64, UFC style MMA game they made. It's where
It's got that guy from KOF 11 that you really like in it,
and Silber is in it as well. Exactly, and you get to see
Silber.
Yeah. Yeah. It's honestly, so it's all of those things, but it's also SNK's homage, if not like a send up to Grappler Baki, because the main character and that guy Silber are very, very much right out of Grappler Baki. Same vibes. It's also got Ryo in it as older Mr. Karate 2 in the future. And it's the fighting game where you use the buttons to move and the stick to fight. So you attack with the gestures and movements on the stick, and then there's a forward step button and a back step button. Very weird.
That's stupid.
Yes, but the idea can work because you remember Fight Night 3.
Yeah, sure. I remember it.
Fight Night is proof that system can work. It just needs to be refined.
Was Fight Night like the last good sports game that I ever played?
I mean, that was a long ass time ago, right?
Yeah.
But before it's a weird system, but there's something to it. And Fight Night gets that in there where you like the motion of an uppercut translates into an uppercut, and you go, "Oh yeah, no, I see it." It's a little bit of that. We referenced it not long ago. Raiden in Sons of Liberty with the stick for slashing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's something to that. It can work, you know. So yeah, that was interesting. Unfortunately, like it doesn't fucking run properly because no one gives a fuck to get the Hyper Neo Geo 64 running because it's one of the worst pieces of shit systems, arcade systems ever made. It's an arcade board that literally consists of I think there's a total of 6 games that were ever made for it. It was alive for 2 years, and and those 6 games, if you're going to play the fighting games, you have to buy the fighting board, which only supports 3 games. Or if you want to play the racing game, you have to buy the racing board, which supports the 1 racing game.
That's so stupid.
Or the other board for the shooters, which is 2 games. And it's just the most trash shit ever. Dude, it's awful. Like anyway.
Like, we got the CPS3 first only because people want to emulate Third Strike. But like that was the board that would kill itself if you took it apart, right?
Not if you took it apart. If you left it alone and healthy, over time it was built to commit suicide, and then they would have to basically re-up it for you. But once they stopped doing that, then everyone's board's suicided. So then someone had to come up with a hardware fix in the form of phoenixing your CPS3s.
Super.
And this was
incredible.
And it was because CPS2 got pirated to shit, and they didn't want to have any more Rainbow editions coming out. So, this was supposed to be And CPS2 was such a successful board. There's tons and tons of games for it. They were expecting CPS3 to go in that direction as well, but whatever. Obviously, due to a million things and reasons, it didn't. Hyper Neo Geo 64 is even worse than that. But hey, it had that one 3D Samurai Showdown game with Old Hal. No, Old Hal Maru was Warrior's Rage. Never mind. It had Shiki in it. There you go.
I've got the stupidest shit post in my head, and it's Danny DeVito standing in front of a bridge going, "My friend CPS3 is going to commit suicide. Suicide is badass." And then just somebody throws a CPS3 board off a bridge instead of Dennis, I think it is.
I mean, like, I went through the trouble of getting a CPS3 board only to have a bunch of asshole movers break it for me without the board even killing itself.
It compelled them to kill it. It was unhappy to be alive.
It sucked. Anyway, that game's fucking weird, but it's interesting to look at that shit. And it's also interesting to see, again, some of the ideas at the time. Like, there's a Tai Chi character that each pose, each direction on the stick is a pose, and you have to move into a couple of them to get a move out. So if you go from like crane into like whatever, into like different poses, different Tai Chi stances, then you get like a hit out. It's just a very unique experience. So yeah, that's out there too. So we looked at some weird shit while the rest of the world was getting hot for Sefi Bishi.
What are you talking about?